Most people don't fall in love with you. They fall in love with the version of you that makes them feel something. The attention feels real, the intensity feels deep, but both can disappear the moment you stop performing. So the real question is this: are they drawn to your presence, or are they connected to your truth? Because one will fade with time, and the other will stay even when everything else changes. There's a quiet but powerful difference between someone who is simply captivated by you and someone who is truly connected to who you are beneath the surface. Attention is easy to give. It shines brightly, feels exciting, and can make you feel special in the moment. But attention is often temporary. It fades when it is no longer being fed or when something new captures interest. What we are exploring here goes far beyond that fleeting spark. It's about a kind of love that reaches deeper, one that recognizes something real and lasting within you. This kind of person doesn't just notice you when you're confident, expressive, or at your best. They pay attention to who you are in your quieter moments, when you're unsure, tired, or not trying to impress anyone. They don't disappear when your energy shifts or when you're not shining. Instead, they stay. That's one of the clearest signs. Attention is drawn to performance, but real love is drawn to authenticity. Many people fall for an image rather than a person. They connect with a version of you shaped by expectations or by what you unconsciously present. But when someone truly cares about your essence, they are not distracted by illusions. They're interested in your contradictions, your depth, and the parts of you that don't always make sense. They don't feel threatened by your independence or your complexity. Instead of pulling away when they see your fears or wounds, they lean in with understanding. Another important difference is that they don't try to reshape you into something easier for them. When someone is driven by attention, they tend to encourage the parts of you that entertain or please them while subtly pushing aside the parts that challenge them. But when someone values your soul, they accept your full reality. They don't ask you to dim your light or soften your edges just to fit their comfort. They understand that your strength and your vulnerability are both part of what makes you whole. Real connection goes beyond what is visible. Every person develops a version of themselves that the world sees, a social identity shaped by culture, expectations, and survival. This is the part of you that knows how to behave, how to communicate, and how to appear capable or composed. Most relationships stay at this level. People respond to your personality, your behavior, and how you make them feel in the moment. But beneath that surface exists a much deeper inner world. There are emotions you rarely express, fears you don't fully understand, and desires you keep protected. There are old experiences that still shape your reactions and instincts you've learned to suppress. This inner layer is often messy and full of contradictions. You can feel strong and fragile at the same time. You can crave closeness, yet fear being truly seen. You can show up for everyone else while quietly wishing someone would notice how exhausted you feel. When someone is only attached to your surface, their connection depends on consistency. As long as you remain the version of yourself they expect, everything feels stable. But the moment you struggle, change, or reveal something deeper, their interest may weaken. That's because their attachment was built on what was visible and easy to understand. Loving someone on a deeper level requires awareness and sensitivity. It means noticing what isn't being said. It means understanding that irritation might actually be pain, that silence might be protection, and that independence might hide a fear of being a burden. It's not about reading minds, but about being emotionally attuned to what lies beneath behavior. This kind of connection responds not just to what you show, but to what you find difficult to show. When you appear strong, they sense your fatigue. When you use humor to deflect, they recognize the vulnerability underneath. When you pull away, they don't immediately assume rejection. They consider that you might be overwhelmed. They see the deeper reasons behind your actions instead of reacting only to the surface. Being seen in this way can feel uncomfortable at first. It exposes parts of you that you may have kept hidden, even from yourself. But when someone acknowledges those parts without judgment, it creates a sense of safety that is rare. You no longer feel the need to constantly perform or hold everything together. You can be uncertain, imperfect, and still feel accepted. This kind of love also understands that you are a work in progress. It doesn't demand perfection or reduce you to your mistakes. It recognizes that your behaviors are often expressions of deeper layers that deserve patience and understanding. Instead of trying to fix you, it allows space for growth. In this kind of relationship, something transformative happens. You begin to understand yourself more clearly because someone is reflecting parts of you that you may have ignored. Their presence becomes like a mirror, helping you see both your struggles and your potential. Over time, the parts of you that were hidden start to integrate into your awareness, not through pressure, but through acceptance. There is a clear difference between connection built on attention and connection built on depth. Attention and validation can feel powerful because they feed the ego. They make you feel noticed, desired, and important. But they are often conditional. They depend on excitement, novelty, or constant reassurance. Depth, on the other hand, is not based on stimulation. It is built on understanding. A connection rooted in validation constantly seeks feedback, needing to feel admired or needed. When that feedback fades, insecurity grows. The relationship becomes unstable because it was dependent on response rather than true recognition. In relationships driven by attention, both people often become performers. One tries to appear attractive, confident, or interesting, while the other responds with admiration or desire. There is constant exchange, but it stays on the surface. It feeds the ego, but not the deeper self. And when life becomes difficult, when energy drops or circumstances change, that kind of connection struggles to hold. But when someone is truly connected to your essence, their presence doesn't depend on how well you perform. It remains steady, even when things are not easy. And that is what makes it real. When a connection is built on maintaining an image, it eventually starts to weaken. The moment that image cracks or changes, everything feels unstable. But a connection rooted in something deeper doesn't rely on constantly impressing each other. It doesn't survive on endless praise or emotional highs. Instead, it is sustained by genuine curiosity about the other person's inner world. Depth means wanting to understand who someone really is when no one is watching. It's about being interested in how they think in solitude, what shaped their fears, what past experiences still influence their choices, and what inner conflicts they carry. It goes beyond observing behavior and moves into caring about the emotional landscape behind it. Validation says, "You make me feel good." Depth says, "I want to know you, even when it doesn't benefit me." Attention often looks for quick emotional rewards, but depth is willing to sit in uncomfortable spaces. It can handle silence, confusion, and emotional complexity without rushing to fix or escape it. When a relationship depends on validation, conflict feels threatening because it interrupts approval. Disagreements start to feel like rejection. But when a connection is built on depth, conflict becomes meaningful. It reveals differences in perspective, personal history, and emotional triggers. Instead of breaking the bond, it can strengthen it, because both people are trying to understand rather than win. Relationships driven by attention often feel intense in the beginning. There is excitement, constant communication, and a strong sense of anticipation. But intensity is not the same as intimacy. Intensity rises and falls quickly while depth develops slowly. It grows through vulnerability, consistency, and honesty. It forms when two people allow each other to witness uncertainty, imperfection and growth without pulling away. There is also a difference in intention. When someone is focused on validation, they are often drawn to people who admire them or depend on them. The relationship becomes a reflection of how they want to see themselves. But when someone values depth, they are less concerned with how the relationship boosts their ego. Instead, they care about emotional safety, authenticity, and growing together. A deeper connection also makes space for individuality. Because it is not built on constant reassurance, there is room for independence. Each person can evolve without fearing that distance means abandonment. The bond is not measured by how often affection is expressed, but by how consistently presence is offered, even in ordinary, quiet moments. Silence doesn't mean disinterest, and space doesn't mean detachment. The connection remains steady because it is rooted in understanding, not performance. True affection recognizes that every person carries both light and shadow. The light includes the traits that are easy to admire, like kindness, confidence, humor, and strength. These are the parts we are comfortable showing because they are rewarded and appreciated. Naturally, most people are drawn to these qualities. But the shadow is more complex. It includes the parts we hide or suppress, such as insecurity, jealousy, fear, anger, or vulnerability. It can also hold untapped potential, like creativity or boldness that was discouraged. The shadow is not something negative by default. It is simply the part of us that has not been fully accepted. In many relationships, affection is given mainly to the light. Someone may appreciate your strength or your calmness, but when you become anxious, reactive, or uncertain, their response changes. If their care is conditional, it begins to withdraw. Over time, this creates a painful belief that only certain parts of you are worthy of love. Real affection does not ignore the shadow. It expects it. It understands that being human means being contradictory. When you become irritable because you are overwhelmed, it looks beneath the reaction instead of labeling you as difficult. When you admit insecurity, it doesn't see weakness. When you face uncomfortable emotions, it doesn't step back. It stays. Accepting the shadow does not mean tolerating harmful behavior or ignoring boundaries. It means recognizing that actions often come from deeper emotional states. Anger may come from hurt, defensiveness from fear, and withdrawal from exhaustion. Instead of reacting only to what is visible, real affection seeks to understand what caused it. This kind of acceptance creates a deep sense of safety. When you know that your difficult emotions won't lead to rejection, you no longer feel the need to constantly prove yourself. You can admit mistakes, express doubt, and reveal the experiences that shaped you. The relationship becomes a space where your hidden and visible selves begin to come together. There is also humility in loving someone this way. It requires recognizing your own shadow as well. When both people accept that they carry insecurities, fears, and unresolved patterns, they approach each other with compassion instead of judgment. Instead of trying to control or correct, they try to understand. This reduces the tendency to project onto each other and creates a more honest connection. Affection that embraces both light and shadow is steady because it is grounded in reality. It doesn't rely on maintaining a perfect image. It allows growth because it does not demand perfection. It sees beauty not only in strengths, but also in the courage it takes to face weaknesses. It values honesty over appearances and presence over illusion. Being fully seen, however, can feel uncomfortable before it feels safe. Most people believe they want to be understood, but true visibility is more vulnerable than expected. It means someone sees not only your strengths, but also your fears, insecurities, and emotional patterns. That level of awareness removes the distance you are used to controlling. From a young age, people learn how to present themselves in ways that gain approval. Over time, this becomes automatic. you may not even realize how much effort goes into maintaining that version of yourself. So when someone begins to see beyond it, noticing the uncertainty behind your confidence or the loneliness behind your independence, it can create inner tension. There is relief in being understood, but also exposure. Being seen challenges your sense of control. When you are only partially known, you can decide what others see. But when someone understands parts of you that you haven't carefully revealed, it can feel unsettling. You may wonder how they will respond. You might instinctively pull back, deflect, or minimize your feelings. Past experiences also play a role. If vulnerability once led to rejection or hurt, your mind associates being seen with danger. So when someone understands you deeply, your defenses may activate before you even think about it. This doesn't mean you don't want the connection. It means you are protecting yourself. Another reason this feels uncomfortable is that it challenges the stories you tell yourself. You may believe you are unaffected by certain things or that you don't need support. When someone gently reflects patterns that contradict these beliefs, it forces you to confront parts of yourself you've avoided. That discomfort is often where growth begins. But when the person who sees you responds with patience instead of judgment, something shifts. If they don't use your vulnerability against you and don't withdraw when you show complexity, your sense of safety begins to grow. Slowly, you realize that being known does not automatically lead to rejection. Trust builds over time through repeated moments of safe honesty. You start by sharing small truths, then deeper ones. Each time you are accepted, your defenses soften. What once felt threatening starts to feel grounding. You stop trying to appear strong all the time and allow yourself to be real. The relationship becomes less about impression and more about truth. Being accepted at that level also helps you accept yourself. When someone responds calmly to parts of you that you once judged, your own shame begins to fade. What felt like a flaw starts to feel human. What felt isolating becomes something shared. The discomfort you felt in the beginning was not a sign that something was wrong. It was simply the unfamiliar experience of feeling safe while being vulnerable. Real love also respects your individuality. It doesn't try to reshape you into something more convenient. Every person enters a relationship with their own identity, values, habits, and way of seeing the world. But in many relationships, subtle pressure begins to change that. One partner may try to mold the other into a version that feels easier or more familiar. This often starts quietly, through small suggestions that seem harmless. Be less intense, more agreeable, more social, less emotional, more predictable. Over time, these messages create the feeling that who you are is slightly off. You begin to filter yourself, holding back parts of your personality to maintain acceptance. But love that truly respects you works differently. It doesn't see your differences as a problem. It doesn't interpret your independence as distance. Instead of asking you to change, it becomes curious about why you are the way you are. It allows you to remain yourself while still being deeply connected. When someone truly values you, your intensity is not seen as too much. It is understood as depth. Even when you don't agree on everything, the respect between you doesn't disappear. Real love understands the difference between growth and erasing who you are. Growth comes from within, from your own desire to evolve, not from someone else trying to reshape you. When a person respects your individuality, they support your journey without trying to control it. They encourage you to become better, to face your blind spots, and to move toward your goals. But they don't decide who you should be. They walk beside you, not ahead of you with a blueprint of your transformation. Control in relationships often comes from fear. When someone feels insecure or afraid of losing you, they may try to control your behavior to feel safe. They believe that by shaping you, they can stabilize the relationship. But that kind of stability comes at a cost. It suppresses who you are. And over time, what is suppressed doesn't disappear, it builds up. It can show up as frustration, distance, or quiet resentment. Honoring individuality requires emotional security. It means understanding that love doesn't require two people to become the same. You can be different in your personality, your interests, your pace, and your perspective, and still be deeply connected. Those differences are not problems to fix. They are opportunities to grow and to see the world in new ways. When your individuality is respected, you are free to have boundaries. You can say no without fear. You can maintain your friendships, your routines, your private thoughts, and your personal ambitions. And your partner doesn't see these as threats. They understand that a strong relationship is built by two complete individuals, not two incomplete people trying to fill each other. At the same time, this kind of connection still includes accountability. Respecting individuality doesn't mean ignoring harmful patterns. It doesn't mean excusing behavior that causes pain. Instead, it separates who you are at your core from the habits or reactions that may need growth. The focus becomes mutual well-being, not control. The goal is alignment, not dominance. When love truly respects who you are, you feel both freedom and closeness at the same time. You don't feel like you have to abandon yourself to keep the connection. You can stand in your truth while being with someone who sees you not as a project to fix, but as a person to understand. There is also an important difference between projection and genuine recognition. Projection happens when someone places their own unmet needs, desires, or fantasies onto you. Instead of seeing you clearly, they see a version shaped by their imagination. You become a symbol, someone who represents what they are missing or longing for. At the beginning, this can feel powerful. It creates strong attraction and emotional intensity. You may seem perfect in their eyes, almost larger than life. Your flaws are overlooked, your similarities are exaggerated, and everything feels meaningful. But this is not grounded in reality. It is built on an idea. Over time, reality begins to break through. You show your boundaries. You act in ways that don't match their expectations. You reveal complexity. And when that happens, the illusion starts to fade. What once felt magical can suddenly feel confusing or disappointing. Some relationships don't survive this stage because the connection was never with the real person, only with the projection. Real recognition is different. It is quieter, but much more stable. It doesn't depend on fantasy. It sees both strengths and flaws from the beginning. There is attraction, but it is balanced with respect and awareness. You are not expected to complete someone or fulfill an imagined role. This kind of connection doesn't collapse when imperfections appear because it never denied them. It remains steady. It doesn't swing between extreme highs and lows because it is rooted in reality, not illusion. Projection happens when someone places their own unmet needs, desires, or fantasies onto you. Instead of seeing you clearly, they see a version shaped by their imagination. You become a symbol, someone who represents what they are missing or longing for. At the beginning, this can feel powerful. It creates strong attraction and emotional intensity. You may seem perfect in their eyes, almost larger than life. Your flaws are overlooked, your similarities are exaggerated, and everything feels meaningful. But this is not grounded in reality. It is built on an idea. Over time, reality begins to break through. You show your boundaries. You act in ways that don't match their expectations. You reveal complexity. And when that happens, the illusion starts to fade. What once felt magical can suddenly feel confusing or disappointing. Some relationships don't survive this stage because the connection was never with the real person, only with the projection. Real recognition is different. It is quieter, but much more stable. It doesn't depend on fantasy. It sees both strengths and flaws from the beginning. There is attraction, but it is balanced with respect and awareness. You are not expected to complete someone or fulfill an imagined role. This kind of connection doesn't collapse when imperfections appear, because it never denied them. It remains steady. It doesn't swing between extreme highs and lows, because it is rooted in reality, not illusion. Projection is often centered on the self, even if it feels romantic. It focuses on how the other person makes you feel or what they represent in your life. But true recognition shifts the focus outward. It becomes about understanding who the other person actually is, their story, their patterns, their individuality. It allows them to exist without forcing them into a role. There is also a difference in emotional balance. Projection tends to amplify everything. Small gestures feel overwhelming, and small problems feel devastating. The emotional experience becomes unstable because it depends on maintaining a fantasy. But real recognition is calm. It doesn't rely on constant excitement. It stays present even when the intensity softens into something quieter. Sometimes, when that initial intensity fades, people think the love is gone. But what often disappears is not love. It is illusion. If there is nothing deeper underneath, the connection fades with it. But if there is genuine recognition, the relationship can actually become stronger. Without the distraction of fantasy, both people can finally see each other clearly. Real connection is steady because it is built on acceptance. It doesn't require perfection. It allows room for change, growth, and imperfection. While projection burns fast and bright, recognition lasts. It doesn't need constant stimulation to survive. It continues, quietly and consistently, supported by understanding rather than imagination. When you look at everything together, the difference becomes clear. Attention can be loud, projection can feel intense, validation can be addictive. But none of these guarantee something real. What lasts is the connection that sees you clearly, accepts you fully, and chooses you without trying to turn you into something else. What makes this idea so powerful is that most people are conditioned to mistake emotional intensity for emotional depth. When something feels strong, fast, and consuming, it's easy to believe it must be real. But intensity often comes from uncertainty, novelty, or even emotional gaps being temporarily filled. Depth, on the other hand, is quieter. It doesn't rush to prove itself. It reveals itself over time through consistency, patience, and presence. A lot of relationships begin with a kind of unconscious exchange. One person offers a version of themselves that is more polished, more agreeable, or more attractive, while the other responds with admiration or desire. It creates a loop that feels rewarding, but it's built on maintaining that version. The problem is, no one can sustain a performance forever. Life eventually introduces stress, fatigue, and emotional complexity. And that's when the difference becomes clear. If the connection was based on the surface, it starts to crack. If it was built on something deeper, it adapts. There's also a psychological comfort in being partially seen. When people only know certain sides of you, you can manage how you're perceived. You can highlight your strengths and hide your vulnerabilities. It gives a sense of control. But real connection requires giving up some of that control. It means allowing someone to see the parts of you that don't feel as stable or as admirable. That's where fear often shows up, because being fully known carries the risk of being rejected. At the same time, being deeply seen is one of the most regulating experiences a person can have. When someone understands your patterns, your reactions, and your emotional history without judging you for it, it creates a sense of safety that goes beyond words. You no longer feel like you have to explain everything perfectly or defend every reaction. There is space to simply be human, with all the contradictions that come with it. Another layer to this is how people relate to their own identity. Many individuals build a sense of self around how they are perceived by others. So when a relationship is based on validation, it becomes a way to maintain that identity. If the validation decreases, it can feel like a loss of self-worth. That's why those connections often feel unstable. They depend on constant feedback to feel secure. In contrast, a deeper connection doesn't replace your sense of self. It supports it. You're not relying on the other person to define you, and they're not relying on you to define them. There is a kind of emotional independence that actually strengthens the bond rather than weakening it. You choose each other, not out of need, but out of recognition. It's also important to understand how discomfort plays a role in genuine connection. People often avoid relationships or moments that feel challenging, assuming that ease equals compatibility. But sometimes discomfort comes from being confronted with truth, with growth, or with parts of yourself you've avoided. The key difference is whether that discomfort feels unsafe or simply unfamiliar. Real connection might challenge you, but it won't make you feel diminished or controlled. Over time, relationships rooted in depth develop a kind of emotional resilience. They are not easily shaken by temporary changes in mood, external stress, or individual growth. There is an underlying trust that doesn't need constant reassurance. That trust is built slowly through repeated experiences of being accepted, understood, and respected. What many people don't realize is that this kind of connection requires maturity from both sides. It asks for self-awareness, emotional regulation, and the willingness to face your own patterns. It's not just about finding someone who understands you, but also becoming someone who is capable of understanding another person at that level. What truly lasts is not the attention that once felt exciting or the illusion that once felt perfect, but the quiet, steady connection that sees you completely and stays anyway. Real love does not ask you to perform, shrink, or become someone else to be chosen. It meets you in your truth, holds space for both your strength and your struggle, and grows with you instead of reshaping you. When you are loved like that, you don't just feel wanted. You feel understood, accepted, and finally at home in who you are.